Hey, this is Thomas Mashad. Welcome to Brain Doodles, and in this lesson we're going to be talking about lettering. In this topic in particular, we're going to be talking about the basics of lettering and just using our straight line, our slanted line, and our curved line to help us get some attention to our text, adding some effects. And this is primarily when you would end up using, say, like a topic in a lecture note that you would want to end up lettering in some fashion. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at using the straight line. Okay, for the straight line, the reason why, and I'm just calling this as a straight line, and it might just vary a little bit up or down. That's okay. That's not a problem there. What we're just doing is we're trying to avoid sometimes the idea of maybe if we draw out a topic title, and like if we're just doing it by freehand, that might really start to go down further than we really want to. And this isn't necessarily something that we always have to do, but if we want to do, maybe a straight line, let me go ahead and erase this last topic area. The reason why we might want to end up using a straight line is that maybe we do want maybe some type of a baseline in which we can put out, a long title for our subject, okay, and maybe we end up adding, some bullet points after that or whatever, some dots. There's a lot of things that we could probably end up doing with this. But let's say you have this long title and, you have a particular subject that you're studying, and out of that subject you have maybe 3 main points. Well, you could draw lines out from that and using this line kind of as this baseline, not only for writing out your text, but then making these other subtopic points. Okay. Now the other cool thing is that once you have this line, maybe you want to end up adding maybe a frame around it, so we can end up adding a shape, and we can kind of get an idea of how long that shape needs to be. This line could be any length at all that we want to, but then we can end up adding kind of like a rectangle shape around it, kind of like making it a banner. We could do a number of things with this, and so this is just kind of giving us one idea of how we can use lines, and in this in particular a straight line, to writing out some text. Okay, so let's take a look at using some more lines, and next one we'll be looking at would be the slanted line. Okay, for the slanted line, we still might end up starting out with like a basic line to putting a word on, but then we use like a slant kind of maybe at the beginning, or we could use it for each letter if we wanted to. Say like we want to write out the word speed. Okay, so we kind of get this idea of how much of a slant this is going to create, or that we need to drawing out our letter, and then that can kind of help us to do each successive letter after that. The P is pretty easy because we already start out with a straight line that's slanted, and same thing with the E. Actually, there's quite a few of them that we're going to work out pretty easily here. Some letters that can be a little bit more difficult to work with would be like the letter A, the letter S, the letter O. Okay, so we could even kind of block that out at the end for speed if we wanted to. And then we could actually use some straight lines here at the end, can kind of convey a little bit more speed. We're going to take a look at a little bit later on how we can use text like this, maybe like in our notes for like a physics class that's talking about speed. Okay, so using the slanted line, we can kind of get this this feeling of motion. We could slant line forwards, we could slant line backwards, and the kind of cool thing here is that we could use a slant line to begin with for having text feel like it's kind of going down and backwards, like for the word fall. And whether we're talking about the subject of the season of fall or falling down, whatever that might be. Okay, so we can use slanted lines, and whether something is going up or going down, we can convey this all through these use of lines. And so it can be slanting text, or it can be slanting the word itself. All right, so let's take a look at our next example of using the curved line. Okay, for the curved line, one of our other basic lines we're going to take a look at here is this can be really helpful when we're wanting to show text that really has that we really want to pop our text out. Okay, if we just write pop straight out, not going to give us that much of a dramatic effect. But if we're wanting to, let's say if we have a deadline coming up and we want to make sure that we know that something needs to be done now, we can then curve our text to this curved line, so we can add it to this curved line. Okay, so the nice thing here is that already we can start to add some dynamic effects to our text. Okay, and we're going to take a look and see how we can kind of even punch this up a little bit more. But for now, what you're going to want to do, practice the straight line, practice the slanted line, practice, going on the curved line. And the next thing we're going to take a look at real briefly here is how we can use even the curved line to kind of adding some fun to our text. Now, when we're going to be talking about using the curved line for text, it's not so much adding text to a curved line, although you certainly could do that. We actually want to start maybe getting an idea of how we can use curved lines to kind of enliven up our regular lines, such as like looking at the letter F. You can draw the letter F, but then what can you do to it maybe to add a little bit of fun? Okay, so just taking it and then maybe adding a little bit of curves to it, making some lines a little shorter. All right, curls, curl up, curl down, and like the letter U, you can draw out the letter U, and then adding some curls to it. Okay, and so then this way, we can start with our basic letters, and then adding a little bit more of a fun quality to it. Okay. Now, one of the other ways that we could end up doing this is, say, like if we have a particular name in a book. One of my favorite ones is, Of Mice and Men, and one of the characters' names, she's actually never given a name, but she's the wife of one of the characters, and her husband's name is Curly. Okay. So we could start to write out, Curly's wife, just using the curves. And there's no right or wrong way to using these curls. Okay, you can do this however that you want to do. Okay, so but then this way we have Curly, and then we can do an apostrophe S to showing possession, of course. And we could say Curly's wife. We could write out wife. I'm just going to end up drawing, a character here that's maybe in a dress, showing Curly's wife. Okay, so and we'll get into shapes and figures later on. But this is how you can end up using curls to kind of having some fun. You can add some embellishments. You could end up adding curves, and then same thing. You could put this down in here, some curves. You could add some banners, say like around fun here. So just practicing with your curved lines and how you can add embellishments to your text with it. Okay, and you could even end up writing out cursive text. And but just make sure that it's legible to you and that it's easy to read, but that it just really kind of stands out to you in the subjects that you're talking about in your notes.